All right, we're going to get started. Thank you, everyone, for coming to our session. We're in the Community Cloud, and today we're going to talk about content management system within our digital experience platform and our audience targeting platform, which makes the personalization journey within Community Cloud. I'm Kusum Kanwar. I'm a product manager, and with me we have Srini. You want to introduce yourself?
I'm Srini. I'm an engineer in CMS team.
Hey, I'm Sudhir Bakru, a product manager on the community's audience platform team.
So we're going to show you some exciting demos, but before that, we have the most exciting slide of our presentation, our forward-looking statement. So please make all purchasing decisions based on what's in the product today. So just to give you an idea, in the last release, we came up with this idea of CMS Connect. And what it lets you do is if you have a content management system already and you want to leverage that content within communities, you don't have to recreate that content. You don't have to change your content management system. You can leverage that directly from your CMS into Community Cloud. This is really powerful because it lets you bring content and centralize your content and your brand in whichever CMS you've chosen. But it also lets you use that in the community so that your customer has the same experience that they would in all of your other web properties. So if your customer is used to seeing a certain banner, a certain logo, a style, header, footer in your website, they will see the same content if you want to bring that into the community as well. So some of the pillars are that you are allowed to bring HTML content. So it's fully rendered web content. We'll talk a little bit about the roadmap and how we're making this more flexible. It's also real-time client-side. Srini is going to talk about that. So what does that mean is that all of your content is brought real-time, and we don't cache or store it. So if your content on your CMS will change, it'll change in the community as well. So it's all automatically updated. It works with Locker, and this is really exciting because it's the first time that now you can inject JavaScript, as well as external styles into communities, and we run it, we parse it through Locker. So it doesn't mean that we're doing any shortcuts. It means that the security is still intact, but it will work seamlessly with Locker because we built it into the product. And also, right now, it supports content that can be rendered via URL. So what that means is that if you have a content management system like Adobe Experience Manager, Sitecore, Drupal, SDL, Tridion, as long as you can break up your content into discrete chunks or components, and you can bring those components into the community, that content will work. I'll show you a demo of how we do this, but really you can bring an entire page, or you can bring a banner, or you can bring a header. It really doesn't matter. You decide what kind of content you want to bring into the community. And we also support localization, so you can map languages between your CMS into the community. So if you have French content, or you have Spanish content, or German content in your content management system, your users in the community will see the same content for their language. Now, I want to just touch base on the reference architecture that a lot of our customers ask about. The best advice that we can give you as our customer, our partner, is that make sure that you're using your content management system for your web content. So it's your marketing, your static content, all your designer assets. And then communities is the place where you build apps. So this is where you have service, partner, because your customer data is stored in Salesforce. And Salesforce Community Cloud is just a window into your CRM. And that's why we built CMS Connect, so that you wouldn't have to decide, do I build my presentation layer on a different platform, or do I build my, my content management system in communities? Now you can keep the best of both worlds, and you can still leverage the right use case for the right system. So the community is where you have interaction with data and your brand, and the website is where you're closest to your community, your content management system, and CMS Connect really lets you bridge this gap. So basically, what we have in communities is the ability to serve content directly, records directly from CRM. We have personalization, which Sudhir is going to demo right now. And then your CMS is where you have your branding and personalization, and you can bridge the two and have the best of the experience of both your content and CRM within Community Cloud. So there's one thing you take away from this presentation is just make sure that you're using the right front-end container for the right use case. And I'm happy to answer any questions if you are using or interested in using Community Cloud and you have an existing content management system. We can definitely talk about that. So I'm going to let Srini describe a little bit about the architecture of the product and how we built it.
Sure. As Kusum mentioned, like CMS Connect is purely client-side implementation of integration to any CMS system. Essentially, there are three areas in a community template that you can render your CMS content: the header, the footer, and a Lightning component which can render CMS data. I mentioned header and footer because header and footer is important because in the browser, in the content rendering, the header and footer are essential, and they need to, the ordering in which header and footer loads is essential because they need to load first. The way it works is like the number 3 in the slide, which says the CMS settings, like the server information, basically like your public CMS server information is stored in our CMS settings, and during the client-side rendering, it makes an XHR call to load the header, footer, and wherever the Lightning components are placed. I'll go to the next slide. In this slide, we are going to talk about the interaction patterns. So CMS Connect component, even though it's a standard component that comes with communities, it slightly behaves differently than a standard component. The content that loads with the CMS Connect component, whether it's the JavaScript files or the HTML, is loaded in a custom namespace. Even though the component loads in the standard communities namespace, the content within that loads in a custom namespace. What that means is, because it loads in custom namespace, all your custom components can actually interact with the CMS Connect component through the JavaScript that gets rendered from the component. And the component, like any other component, will have access to the Lightning, global Lightning events, and as I mentioned, can interact with custom components back and forth.
And we're going to show this in a demo as well.
Sure.
All right. So why don't we just jump over to the demo? This is going to be really exciting because we actually have built a fake website. It's called Capricorn.coffee. It's one we use for a lot of our demos. So it's basically a website for a coffee company, and you can see they have a banner, they have a header, footer, and they have products. And so this is our homepage of this company. Now imagine if the same company had a community as well, and they wanted the same look and feel of their website to be available in the community. They don't want to go back and recreate the banner and the header and footer. And so what you see here is with CMS Connect, we've already brought the header and the footer into the community. And this is using our product. So you can see the look and feel of the community is very similar to the website, and you have the same banner, and it's not static, right? So it's not just a banner, it's actually the header with links. It works the same way as it does on the website. So how did I do this? Let me just show you how we set it up. So the first thing is, we have now with Community Workspaces, if you're familiar, we have a new tab called CMS Connect. This is where you would set up your connection. So I've created a connection here for my CMS. I have a server where I'm hosting my website. I have the root path of where my content is located. And then I also have additional information. If I wanted to bring in JavaScript with it, if I wanted to bring in CSS, it's also the load order is really important. So if you have some styles that go with your HTML content and you want to load it in a particular order, you can specify that. The same thing with script. And you can also map the languages. So if I might have some content in my EN folder, which is English, or another folder which is French, I can map it to a Salesforce language. So when my French user logs in, they'll see French content and so on. So now that we've done that, let me show you how you can pull in content. So if I go back to the builder, that's where I already have my content built set up. So the header and the footer, as Srini mentioned, we do that ahead of time because it's optimized. So the header and the footer, the way they load in the page, the order of the header and footer. So that would be right here under settings. And there's a new tab called CMS Connect. I've just selected that connection that I created in the workspace, and I provided the paths for the header and the footer. But if I wanted to drag a component, I can drag my CMS Connect component anywhere on the page. So here's my CMS Connect component. I'm going to drop it in this header section. And then just for fun, I'm going to say, you know what, I want a banner from my website. And you all remember that Capricorn Coffee website. And just like that, I now have a banner. I have not cached this content. This is coming directly from my website. So if I wanted to bring in a little bit larger subsection of my web content, I can do that as well. So now I'm going to bring in not just my banner, but also that product list you saw on the website, you saw the story. So just to give you an illustration that it could be any part of the content, I chose to drag this into this section of my community. I could have dragged it into a smaller section. The idea here is reusability. And it's not just for header footer, it also works with interactions, which means that this link that it says pre-order can go to a community page, it can go to a web page. So that, what Srini was describing about the custom namespace, that's what comes in there. And we'll demo that to you as well together with audiences. So this is your way to bring content into the community. Now we're going to talk about how can you personalize this content so the right people see the right content. And for that, Sudhir is going to show you a quick demo.
Sure. Thanks, Kusum. Let me start. Sorry. Am I going through the deck? Yeah, there you go. So I'm Sudhir, product manager on the audience platform. We've had for some time our customers ask us, hey, how do I create a personalized experience for my own customers, right, for my own users? We know that personalization leads to engagement, right? A higher engagement with your product. Quick example of this is when you go to YouTube, you're far more likely to engage with YouTube if you're seeing something that's based on your likes, something that coming out of your interest, right? Rather than just randomly clicking on a YouTube video that doesn't make sense to you. So we thought about how do we build a feature, a product that will allow our customers to do the same for their own customers. So the answer comes in what we call the community audience platform. We very recently launched this. So when you think of personalization, there are two things you think of, right? What is it that you want to personalize? Is it a page? Is it some random text, right? You have on a page? Is it a video? What is that you want to personalize? And on what basis do you want to personalize it, right? Do you want to show a different page to someone coming from San Francisco, or you want to show a different text based on someone coming from a different user profile? So right now what we launched and what we support are you can go in and personalize based on location, right? So you can actually add criteria, create criteria within communities for location, for domain reference, so basically where your user's coming from, which domain they're visiting from, the user profile. So based on their customer profile, you can actually go in and define different page variations and record type. Currently, what we support are page variations. The simple way to understand that is you have a home page. You want to create 2 different or 3 different variations of it, right? You want to show one to a customer who's coming from the US. You want to show the other coming from France. And then you want a third one default for anyone else, right? So you go in and create 3 different page variations for the home page. I'll quickly explain this for the demo. So let's think of a quick use case, right? Let's think of the same coffee machine that Kusum spoke about, right? They've run into a glitch where they need to do a recall because of manufacturing defects. It impacts everyone, all their users in California, right? So they really want to target the users in California and tell them about this. However, they don't want the customers outside California to learn about it. They're not really proud of this, right? But they want to make sure that the customers in California know how to see this banner. So how do we do that, right? So over here we have your pages. Within these pages, you can go and create different page variations through here, right? Your new page variation over here. You can click on it. I'll show a demo on how to create a page variation next. But once you have a page variation, which we've created over here, look at the grinder recall. So let's just look at it, what it looks like. So when you open, so yeah, so while it loads, so the page on it has a clear banner that says, hey, California customers, there's this particular coffee machine that we want to recall, right? But you want only your customers in California to see this. So how do you really go target them, right? So we have, like I said, we have something called the audience platform. You would go here, go into the home page variation, tap on the ellipses, and again, go on Grinder Recall. When you drop down here, you see something called Manage Audience. And when you go here, there are already a multiple audience that we've defined, but we want to define something new, right? So we want to define a new audience. Close this here. Let's call it Cal users, right? And now we want to target them not on based on, you can go and create a user profile here. You can choose which profile you want to create, which profile you want to target based off, or you can just go down and choose location, record type, which I spoke about, or referring domain. In this case, we're interested in location. So what we want is all customers coming from California should see this. So we select California, we scroll down, and we pretty much click Save and Assign. That's it, right? So this page variation now has Cal users. That's the audience that is assigned to it. So any user who's coming from the California location, from a geolocation, will now see this particular banner and hence knows that there's a recall for that particular coffee machine. The next demo that really want to focus is, so there is the whole CMS Connect, right?
Yeah.
We have the capability of create page variations. How do both of them come together, right? How can you even personalize further? and that's what you can do, right? So what we can do here, let's think of a different use case. Let's think, hey, the customers in Canada, which are already in a Canada user profile, right? They have been buying a lot of our machines, and we want to target them for a focus group, right? We want to bring them in because they like our product. We want to get feedback. So how do we go in and create that, right? So again, right, we want to create a different page variation.
And we already have a lot of page variations created.
Yep.
So why don't we show them maybe how the page already looks like to a customer that isn't from Canada?
Sure.
So maybe you want to show them what Lauren's page. So like this is our guest page, right? So this is a completely different look and feel of a guest page variation. So you can see the steaming cup of coffee. So you can decide if your guest user needs to see, a very different experience, and then when you're logged in user, they have a completely different experience.
Yep.
You want to switch over to?
Sure. All right. So you saw what a US-based customer Lauren looks at. But what about the customer that's in Canada, right? That's in the, so we already have a different page variation created here. I'm just quickly going to open that. Right? In fact, let's actually go in and to tell you how to create one as well. So page variations, new page variation. Again, now what you can do here is you can actually create a page variation based off the home page, right? So you have a home page. You can, if you want, you can create a completely new page. Create a different, different layout completely. But now you want this home page to come off the home pre-configured page that we have. So on the page variation, you select home. You give it a name. Let's say you call it Canada Coffee Lover, right? And we create this page. While it loads.
And what's cool about it is going to clone the entire homepage.
Yep.
And then you can customize it based on, maybe you want to change that banner and make it Canadian coffee lover banner,
right.
Something like that.
Yeah, so exactly like what Kusum did, right? You can go into CMS Connect and pull in the same banner, right? But I already have a page created here, so I'm just going to show you because Kusum already demoed that for you.
And what's interesting about this is what Srini spoke about.
Yep.
So this actually, when we're going to log in as Justin Trudeau, he's the only Canadian I could think of.
Yep.
And we're going to show you how, when he's logged in, this will go to a communities page. So it basically allows you to not just bring in content. This is a banner from your website, but it interacts with communities' content and communities' pages. And that is really powerful because it not only makes your content reusable, it makes it reusable in context.
Yep. So again, you go in and you define an audience for this customer. We've already done it, but again, let's take a quick example of it. So there you go. So we see Canadian coffee customers here. We click on Manage Audience. And the one that is assigned over here is the Canada Coffee Lovers audience, right? So within this, we have this audience where you have a profile already, a customer profile that's called Canadian Coffee Members, and you're targeting those users, right? So Justin Trudeau, right?
And we could have done it by location as well.
could have done the location, absolutely.
Yeah. So if you're logging in from a particular IP address and you don't want to create a profile for every one of these users, you can do it that way. You can do it by referring domains. So if they're coming from one domain and you know that they're coming from Microsoft.com, you want to show them a certain content, you could do that as well. So there's a lot of ways that you can make the experience like super personalized.
Absolutely. All right. So yeah, what I just showed you, so the same user, right? So an unsigned user, a not logged in user, actually sees a different page altogether, goes to the same URL, right? But again, Lauren sees a different page. This is not seeing the focus group banner. But when Justin logs in, who's in that profile, same URL is actually seeing a different banner altogether, which is now targeting them on the focus group that we want to create. So yeah, so a different banner altogether, and you have personalized content that says, hey, Canadian coffee lovers, welcome, right? And yeah, so you can basically personalize your product, your community based on audience.
Great.
Yeah. Give it to Srini.
Yeah, and so we're going to just quickly go back to the slides. So let's do that.
Yeah.
So just very briefly, I wanted to talk about our roadmap. We have really exciting 3-release roadmap, and both for audience and content management. For content management, today we technically support any CMS where you can get an absolute URL. Usually that works really well with Adobe Experience Manager, but we are testing and expanding to Sitecore, Drupal, SDL, Tridion. It really doesn't matter. We're not CMS specific. It's an HTML connector. And what we're going to do in the roadmap is include a JSON connector. So it's not, today what you're getting is fully rendered HTML. What you can do in the future is you can bring raw content, and then we'll provide you some templates in which to display the content. So you can decide and do both, either or. So with the HTML, you get to bring your style, your brand. With JSON, you get to bring reams of data, like maybe blogs or articles or files. And this is completely agnostic. So that, you define the JSON, you give us a structure, and we let you bring it. In addition to that, we'll also try to bring in external CMS personalization. And Srini is actually going to show you a preview of that. I like that feature. I think it's really exciting. So in addition to using personalization in the community that Sudhir was just talking about, if you have personalization defined in your CMS, you can also bring that in. We're going to show a demo today with Adobe Experience Manager. And then, for the next couple of releases, we're looking at building our own lightweight platform that allows you to build and publish content like blogs, articles, news, open up more APIs. On the content targeting with audiences, Sudhir.
Yeah, so on the audience side, we want to keep extending how users can define their criteria. So we want users to be able to define criteria based off any field on any CRM object that Salesforce has, right? And that'd be amazing. The first one we're targeting is the user object, right? And we go after the rest of the objects. But we're also we're going to be soon working on public APIs so that, whatever we build out of the box, our customers can actually then go configure and play around and in fact, add even more functionality to their product. Yep.
Yeah, we're really looking to make the Community Cloud almost as personalized as your website, but not don't forget that it's still a very powerful tool because it's still a window into your CRM. But now you can do a lot more content creation, targeting, and personalization. So I'm going to leave you with a demo from Srini, which is going to talk about the personalization in Adobe and how we can bring that within that same CMS Connect component. This is work in progress. We're expecting it in our winter release. So it's fresh off the press, and we're excited to show it to you today.
Sure. So in this demo, I'm going to show how you can bring your personalized content into CMS Connect component within communities. So here I have AEM running on my local server. So I have a couple of personalized content here. So
this is Adobe Experience Manager.
Yeah, this is Adobe Experience Manager where I've set up some personalization rules and I have set up some content which shows personalized data. So right now you can see the globe and the text which says global user. There is an experience called French experience which shows the Eiffel Tower and the text which says French user, and the English experience shows the San Francisco Golden Gate and the text which says English user. Now you have this component which is already present in AEM, which is personalized based on the user language. The French experience means a user whose primary language is French and English is English. Default is fallback, like if the language doesn't match, where do you want to go? So this is already set up in AEM, and you want to bring this into communities. All right, so I'm going to go back to Communities Builder. I already have a connection that is set up. So I'll go to my Communities Builder and drag and drop the component, CMS Connect component. All right, and then I'll just grab the URL for the content. Select the server, put the URL. So you see, right now you see the default content, right? So in order to turn on personalization, I select this checkbox, enable personalization. Now it recognized that this user is English, so it showed the golden gate. So I'll go back and then show it as a live user how it's going to show. So let me move here. So I load this community. I already published this community with the content. So this user who's logged in as a guest user, unauthenticated user, is a user whose language is German. So because there's no mapping for German, it shows default content. You can see the global user, the globe on the top. So I'm going to change the language to English. So once we pick English, you're going to see the content changing to Golden Gate Bridge, and the English, the text says English user. I'll just change it to French. You should see the Eiffel Tower, and the text which should say French.
That's very exciting. So what I want you all to take away from this is that you can do this today if your content is stored in different languages, but what's powerful about what's coming here is that your personalization rules can be set up wherever. You can use our platform, you can use your CMS, you can be targeting content using Adobe, and you'll still see that same personalization. This is the first time, again, this has been made to work within the constraints of Locker, and we're allowing an external system to access user context, return the right teaser, the winning teaser,
correct.
And that's the information we're showing here. So we're giving you all the tools that you need to personalize your community and build rich content and surface it. If there are any questions, please feel free to talk to us, and thank you all for coming.
Yep. Just to quickly add, guys, we do have the Communities Builder team, and the community generally has a booth here today. So if you guys want to stop by and have any questions, we'll be there, but the rest of the community team will also be there, so you can answer any questions there too. Thanks.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.